In this video, I'm going to break down, react, and review Mariah Carey singing Vision of Love 1990 versus today, 2020. Let's sing something. La la la. If you are new to my channel, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon thingy. This channel is to teach you how to sing. Yay! If you're like, wait, I don't want to know how to sing. I just want to know how my favorite singer does what they do. That's okay. You're also in the right place. Today, I'm going to vocally analyze and break down Mariah Carey singing Vision of Love. We're going to compare how she approached it in 1990 to 30 years later in 2020. So, let's get started.
With Richard T. on piano, and with Billy T. Scott and Patrick McMillan providing backup vocal,
that's nice that they're announcing them. So lots of excess air, and then she always does the lower notes with like the yeah. It's not yeah, it's yeah. It's always really deep in the chest with that overdeveloped vowel, and then that really nice high note in there, subtly approaching it with the excess air. As you try to approach a high note like that, I do not suggest doing it with a bunch of air because it does make it more difficult, but this is her style choice. A good way to practice it would be to thin it out and approach it more kind of cartoony sounding and then apply that air.
Treated me kind, sweet destiny, carried me through desperation. The one that was waiting for me. It took so long, still I believe.
Okay, so nice. She's doing it took so it's a little bit lower set but still decently lifted. It took so long, and it's still decently placed up here instead of long, which would be more into the chest. She's definitely placing it up a little bit higher, which makes sense, so then she can support as she goes into her big crazy belts. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that her microphone is oddly placed. So the way that a microphone works, especially back like 30 years ago, because they were not nearly as good as they are now, when you're looking at the microphone, right, only the center of the microphone is really what catches the meat of your voice. So you generally want to place the microphone so it's heading directly towards your mouth. And if you notice, hers is raised up. So it's really only hitting the outside of the microphone, which is an interesting choice. I don't know why they did that. And the backup vocals have the same thing. We'll see when we look at the 2021. Let's see where her microphone is. It might be a totally different kind of microphone, but still.
Somehow the one that I needed will find me eventually.
So right there, I had a vision of love. I think I just did the wrong notes, but it's really small and gentle, and she's lightly popping off of the notes. She's not putting a lot of weight on them. I had a vision of love. I know I'm hitting the wrong note. I don't know why I lost it, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. Just very lightly, da 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 da. It's just very gently popping off of those notes. So now we're going to cut forward to the 2020 version, and let's see how she does that introduction different than she did 30 years ago.
Treated me kind, sweet destiny.
Okay, hang on. That's a different key. Treated me. Okay, hold on. I have my piano here because I had a feeling. I was like, I need my little piano thingy because feeling it was going to be lower. Okay, hang on. Oh, I'm getting tangled in my cord. All right, treated. Okay, so that treated me is an F. The previous one was higher. It was here. Treated me kind, or whatever it was. So she is singing this now, 30 years later, a whole step lower than the original that she did 30 years ago. Okay, so here's what I have to say about that, because you're probably like, oh, that's not so good. It's actually not that bad. If you were a normal singer, not a Mariah Carey, who's crazy on tour, who's crazy using her vocal cords, doing interviews, talking all the time, recording, performing, touring, using the crap out of her vocal cords, then yes, I would say 30 years later, you should be able to sing it in the same key. But considering all the work that she's put on her vocals, it's no wonder that they've slowly started to kind of thicken up a little bit, and those high notes are going to be a little bit harder. With proper maintenance, they won't be as hard, but it makes sense that she would lower it down a whole step.
Carried me through desperation to the one that was waiting for me. It took so long, still I believe somehow the one that I needed.
Okay, she's definitely coming with a little more tension and I say guttural tension. Basically she's pushing a little bit more from the diaphragm stomach area and contracting it a little bit more. So the one that I needed knowing the one that I need, instead of knowing the one, which she was doing before. She was popping it up a little bit more, knowing the one that I, remember it was really small and light, and now it's knowing the one that, you could hear a little more tension behind the vocals in this version.
Would find me eventually. I had a vision of love, and it was all that you've given to me. I had a vision of love, and it was all that you've given me. I realized the dream, and I vision.
Okay, so she's not opening up quite as much as she used to. I realized the dream. The last one, she opened up more with her mouth. This one is a little bit more closed and there's a little more tension within the jaw. However, basically, they're pretty darn close to each other. One's just a little bit more deeper, chestier set, which is this one, comparison to the other one, which is a little bit more lifted.
Lies, the love that came to be. Said I feel so alive. I'm so thankful that I received the answer that heaven has sent down to me. You treated me kind.
Okay, I have big headphones on, and I want to rewind the you treated that you. I keep hearing little bits of auto-tune put into this. And I heard it at the very, very beginning of this track with her trill that she did. It sounds slightly computerized. And that you, I feel like auto-tune kicked in a little bit. So we're going to listen to it again. I could be wrong, but if you have good headphones, put them on and really listen to that you. And you tell me, does it sound a little computery a little bit?
You treated me kind. Sweet destiny. And you know that you did. And I'll be eternally grateful. Holding you so close to me. Right through the night.
But it's overall, sorry, my nose itches. It overall sounds actually pretty good. It's a little bit back here. There's a little bit of back placement again, but in general, it's sounding pretty darn good. We're going to go through this whole chorus, and then I'm going to pop over to the old version, and let's hear the vocal difference between those.
So faithfully, yes. Just know
Okay. Okay, so you can hear a little bit of scratchiness behind the vocals. It almost feels like, or sounds like a little bit of haze as she's hitting these high notes. And that has to do with vocal strain. That has to do with pushing from the bottom or pushing from the stomach. Like I was just saying in the beginning, there's a little bit of that guttural tension. And then as she's hitting it, it sounds a little hazy is a really simple way to describe it, but it's scratchy. And you'll hear that, and I have a feeling even as we continue through this course, you're going to hear it every time that she hits those high notes. Her mouth is nice and open. There's good space there, but there's too much tension as she's approaching these. And again, this could be just from 30 years of using her vocals. You know, overall, these are not the easiest of notes. Okay, she seemed really excited to hit that. Hear that haze? Okay, we're gonna go, before we get to this really, really big ending note, we're gonna go back to the old version, and I wanna check out her approach back then when her vocals were more fresh.
Pray through the night.
You can definitely hear the key change.
Felt so alone, suffered from alienation. Oh, I carried the weight on my own. Had to be strong, so I believed.
So in general, as you're listening to this, you can hear it just feels lighter and brighter and more awake and more vibrant. And that has to do with her placement because she's placing them higher up. Now, she does really, really like to approach with air. You can, so I believed, knowing the one, it's got, that's exhale of air. She kind of kicks it a little bit before she goes into her note. That's fine 30 years ago, but it will catch up with you in time. And that may be part of what has happened, but you can clearly hear, other than the fact that it's a whole step higher, they're just more vibrant and more awake. And I'm telling you, there's no auto-tune on this whatsoever. There's very little effects at all, maybe a little reverb, and that's it. Really nothing.
And now I know I've succeeded.
Nice and small.
Finding the place I conceived. I had a vision of love, and it was all that you've given to me. I had a vision of love, and it was all that you've given me.
Okay, so you can hear it. I had a vision. I had a vision of, which was the old way. This is definitely more awake and lifted and much lighter on those vocal cords. Let's go into these big kick, big notes.
I realized a dream. Oh yeah. And I visualized the love that came to be.
Okay, so when she did this in the old version, it seemed like a part of the song that was harder. You know, like when she was singing it seemed like, ooh, that's a high note. Now that she's singing it a whole step higher, as she's singing this, it doesn't seem that hard. And realistically, I call this the gymnastics complex. This is where, like, when you're watching gymnastics and they're doing all these crazy flips and all this amazing stuff, and you're like, oh, I can do that, you know, and then you go out and you try to do a round off or something and you're on the floor and you realize, whoa, that's a whole lot harder than I thought it was. That's because they're so amazingly skilled in what they're doing that it makes it look effortless and easy. What she's singing right now and how she's doing it is so skilled that it makes it look easy, whereas her now, it's more difficult for her. Her vocal cords aren't as strong as they used to be and as vibrant as they used to be. So she's struggling a little bit more, and as the viewer, we also feel that struggle, and that whole section when she just previously sang it felt higher, felt harder. because for her it was harder. But now watching this one, you're like, oh, I could do that, right?
Feel so alive. I'm so thankful that I received the answer that I haven't has sent down to me.
Here we go.
You treated me kind, sweet destiny, and you know that you did. And I'll be eternally grateful. Oh, yeah.
Holding you so close to me.
There it is. Straight through the nights. There's a trill there. There was a trill in there. She not only hit the note, and if you noticed, all the way open, she also added a trill. And it sounds so easy. Let's see if she does this. So thankfully. That scoop. Let's find out.
So faithfully.
Knowing the one that I needed would find me eventually. I had a vision of love,
Clear, open.
and it was all that you've given to me. I had a vision of love.
Okay, so that was beautiful. Just, I had a vision of love. I think that was the trill. Ooh, I think I almost got it. She approached it gentle, popped open a little bit with a little kick, and then went right into a trill. That shows control. If she didn't have the control, she'd do, well, in the newer version, she hits it a little bit more straight and more solid because she doesn't have the ability to release that tension as much. She's just kind of hanging on to what she got in some ways. All right, here we go. Here's the big ending.
And it was that you
Woo!
turned out to
Gentle.
turned out to be.
Perfect control on that. She really hit that well. And you notice with her B, this flared, B, because the E pinged right out of the front, and then she developed it into an because that gives you more space. B, and then it went into the for the opening there, and her little trill and the whatever she did there was beautiful as well for her to hold, release, hold, release, hold, release. If you have too much tension, it ain't gonna happen. So let's see how she does it in 2020. So clearly that's different. She didn't pop open. She also doesn't have that same, as we call it, a spark to it in some ways as she had back then. She still has a little bit, but I mean, obviously when you're comparing one to the other, she also didn't kick it as much. She didn't add the extra ad libs. She didn't do all that. She almost, like I said, she held it. And ended it there rather than messing around with it, doing different things, because you're not as able to play with it when there's too much tension. Whereas 2020 version, she's got a little bit too much tension on there. Overall, though, I have to say, not too bad. Go ahead and click here for my cheat sheet on how to sing like Mariah Carey. Click here if you're new to singing and you want to improve your voice fast. And fellow singers, come hang out with me in my Facebook group where we do challenges, live warm-ups, and all sorts of cool stuff. The link is down below, and I will see you in the next song. La la la!